everybody, it's Kathy and Colleen. We are here to do our May podcast for Empowered Voices. And at the beginning, as usual, we're going to start with Colleen and see what's going on astrologically for us for the month of May.
Wonderful, beautiful. So hello, everyone. And again, welcome to our Empowered Voices podcast, video podcast for May 2020. We've got a lot going on in this time period astrologically. I have to say there's a lot of planets turning to retrograde motion or have already just recently turned to retrograde motion. And the first one we're going to start out with talking about is Pluto, because Pluto did go retrograde on April 25th, and it's going to be retrograde until about October 4th. It stays retrograde for a really long time, but I wanted to re-mention that because Pluto is such a heavy-duty planet that deals with transformation and death and rebirth. And my goodness, I mean, we are all going through this on the collective level as a planet, as a humanity. We're going through huge change, huge transformation, huge death and rebirth. So, it's definitely worth mentioning again that Pluto has turned to that retrograde motion. And what happens when a planet turns retrograde? Let me say this up front. When a planet turns to retrograde motion, it internalizes that planet's energy according to what sign of the zodiac it's in. For instance, we all usually are aware of when Mercury goes retrograde. Mercury is the planet that rules our thoughts, our ideas, our communications. When Mercury goes retrograde, kind of internalizes that energy so that rather than it going out, like being projected out, our ideas projected out, our communications with others projected out and flowing in a positive, clear, focused direction. When Mercury goes retrograde, it internalizes that energy so that we're a little bit more on that inner, thoughtful, contemplative, mode. We're doing a lot more self-communication. We're looking at our own thoughts and ideas a little bit more internally. And because Mercury likes to communicate outward, as all the planets like to project outward their energies, when it's retrograde, it kind of starts to cause this confusion with our thoughts or lack of clarity with communication. And that would be sort of the explanation of a retrograde planet. So Pluto going retrograde, April 25th, is internalizing this energy of power and death and rebirth, meaning that on an inner level, we as souls are needing to find our own inner power. We're needing to empower ourselves. And we might be dealing with our own kind of subconscious energies, power and control issues within ourselves, because Pluto does rule the subconscious or the underworld or things that are hidden, the shadow side, etc. Now, actually, 3 other planets this month of May, and of course, we're here on May 11th, bringing this information to you. But 3 other planets turning retrograde motion at this time. So Saturn. I was going to say Saturday, but I mean Saturn. Saturn is turning to retrograde motion today, May 11th, 2020. And Saturn's a pretty slow-moving planet itself. It's going to be retrograde until September 29th. Now, Saturn rules karmic challenges. Saturn rules responsibility. Saturn rules structure, form, and manifestation. So, again, we as a humanity and what we're going through right now because of the COVID virus and everything that's transpiring as a result of that, and, being in quarantine and things being kind of shut down, if you will, or kind of put on hold, Saturn is here to restructure. Now, again, when it's in its forward-moving direction, Saturn is restructuring on an outer level. But now that it's turning retrograde, it's about restructuring ourselves, restructuring our belief systems, restructuring our own energies. It's about dealing with any karmic patterns, if you will, from previous lifetimes within ourselves, so that we can take responsibility, which Saturn is famous for. Let's all take responsibility for, the restructuring of our own inner light, of our own inner selves. Take responsibility and kind of rise to the task, as Saturn being the taskmaster, to learn the lessons that we're here to learn so that we can move forward as a collective of humanity. And once Saturn goes back to direct motion, we can then take that inner restructuring that we've done and we can project it back out onto the outer world. We also have Venus going retrograde. Now, interestingly enough, it's like May 11th, May 12th, and May 14th. We have 3 planets going retrograde. Venus on May 12th is going retrograde in the sign of Gemini. She's a little bit faster moving. She's only going to be retrograde until June 25th. But Venus rules relationships and partnerships, but it also rules money and finances. And again, isn't that something that's being affected now in a lot of people's lives with the situation that we're all in as a collective? So Venus being in Gemini, this is about duality. Gemini is the sign of the twins, so it's about duality. This can mean that if we're dealing with relationship matters, that we might be vacillating in certain, decisions or thoughts or ideas about relationships and what they are, what they should be, what we want them to be. A lot of us are more in close quarters with one another now, so there can be a little bit of needing to kind of sort through different processes regarding relationships. But Venus, again, also rules money and finances. The fact that it's in Gemini can bring in the possibility of, again, this vacillation, chaos, confusion. Sometimes Gemini, goes back and forth with things. But again, being a sign of duality, it can bring in another source, like another source of income, or doing more than one thing to bring in money and income for yourselves. Whenever I see someone that has a Gemini on the second house of money, they're often doing more than one thing. They have more than one idea, more than one thinking resource here to kind of create money and finance and abundance for themselves. So Venus retrograde is internalizing these energies so that our thought processes are being looked at and maybe understood. Maybe we're looking at things a little bit more logically and intellectually, as Gemini likes to do. But again, this is in regards to relationship and finance, and things may not be totally clear or reset, if you will, until Venus goes direct on June 25th. And then the last planet to go retrograde, and I know this is a long astrological forecast here, but there's a lot going on. Jupiter goes retrograde on May 14th and will stay retrograde until September 13th. Now, Jupiter rules our belief systems. So again, as it's turning retrograde, it's internalizing our energies so that we look at our inner belief systems. We're looking at what we believe to be true about ourselves, about our lives, about the planet, about the collective, about what's going on in the world. And, we're trying to, again, maybe shift our perspective or shift our belief systems so that we can project out more of this kind of positive, looking at what blessings it's bringing us, because Jupiter also rules prosperity, abundance, and blessings. But Jupiter likes to expand the energy. So whatever it's touching, it's going to expand, meaning if we're thinking in a more fearful or anxious way, Jupiter is going to expand that energy, and then we're going to create what it is that we're believing or thinking about. If we're thinking, oh, I'm really grateful and thankful that I have more time to spend with my family. I'm really grateful and thankful that with me now being at home a little bit more, I'm starting to really see that maybe what I'm doing as far as my career or life path isn't really in alignment with my truth, with my true spiritual self. And this has given me time to kind of pause and reflect upon all of that. And maybe over these next few weeks to realign myself in a different way so that, I can kind of do something new, so that I can project my new energies, the energies of my true spiritual beliefs into alignment with what I'm actually physically doing out there in the world. So again, all these planets, these 4 planets being retrograde for a time, is allowing for a great kind of inner healing and an inner perception to take place, an inner awareness to kind of happen and take place. And of course, Kathy and I, we did, meditate before starting our video podcast, and we have some messages that we pulled from different decks that we have. But before I show you any of those, I'm going to let Kathy respond to some of this energy forecast astrologically, because I'm sure she's intuiting some things already.
Well, it's funny. I'm shaking my head the whole time because it just fits so perfectly for where we are. I mean, it really, truly does. If we are in that process of now going through that, having to look within, having to heal those old patterns and release those old patterns, then it would make sense that they're going to kind of come into alignment. The planets are I almost feel like everything is working together. The planets, spirit, the animals. I mean, everything is coming in together to try to help us to get through all of this that we've been through. And I think it's such a fascinating time if you allow yourself to really, I mean, I know we're going through emotional times. Trust me, Colleen and I have even discussed it. We both have gone through our own emotional, little bits of battles here. But again, if you can catch yourself and sort of reshift your perception into, oh, wow, okay, so let's just really look at this. Like almost becoming sort of the therapist for yourself in some interesting way, and saying, how can I look at this, and what can I do to release this or shift this, or is this something I'm meant to learn from? Or is it just us picking up the energy of what's going on in the universe? So it's always that sort of trying to listen to yourself, become self-aware with what's going on with you. If there is this sort of pattern or cycle or something that you see recurring, or even just looking at your life and saying, this has kind of been nice. Like I've enjoyed being with my family. I've enjoyed connecting with people online as opposed to running to every different space to go and do what I do. So again, maybe it's shifting our thinking about how we work, how we look at the universe. Not that I don't miss physically hugging people or saying hi to people. It's not that we don't miss that. Of course we do. And just the consistency of going somewhere every day and being put back on that schedule every single day. Mm-hmm. But some of us have overworked ourselves to the point to where probably at this point either can go either way. It's either side of the scale. Either you're at the point to where you're like, wow, was I running everywhere and I feel so much better now, or you're so used to that pattern that you're like, what am I doing? Where am I going?
It pops in as you're talking, Kathy, that a lot of us were just kind of on automatic pilot. We were getting up, we were getting ready for work, we went to work, we picked up the kids from school perhaps, or we, came home, maybe helped them with their homework, we had to do dinner, we, whatever we do in the evening, and then we started the process all over again. And so there was never really any time in this energy of being on automatic pilot, sort of like when you're driving down the highway and you're driving down the road and you start kind of, spacing out, and then you find yourself at your destination, but you don't remember making the turns. This time period, and again, not to diminish in any way, shape, or form, the emotional, energies that have been brought up in us, the frustrations, the people that are out there on the front lines that are still working, that are doing their thing for, to keep healthcare going and the mail going and everything else, and not to diminish the fact that our lives are changing and what that's causing us to go through on an emotional level. But if we can shift our perspectives from being on automatic pilot and then be grateful and thankful that, wow, I have this extra time that I've been able to paint or draw or sing or dance or connect with my family more, or, those things that, and to think about my own spiritual life more, to, align myself with my spiritual truth more, or to have more time to meditate or plant in my garden and nurture my flowers out in my front yard, or whatever it is. It's, really, it is giving us certain blessings if we look for them and shift that perspective, for sure.
Absolutely. And not always having to feel like we have to quickly find a way to make the pieces fit, the pieces of the puzzle fit for everything, and even just taking the time to just talk to your husband, instead of, okay, you've got to pick up this at the grocery store, it's all the list of things that need to be done, to actually have a conversation about the weather, I don't know, the dogs, again, things that, you're missing those moments with your children or even your friends, being able to have the time to give them a call, connect with them on Zoom, again, whatever's working. It's pretty fascinating. The things that we're learning, I mean, I know for myself, I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel so much lighter. Some of the things that I've not had to deal with this month. Like, I feel so much off my shoulders that it's kind of amazing to me. Like, I didn't even know that really bothered me, was what I find myself saying.
Right.
But it's like, wow, this is like freedom. Like, and trust me, you talk about the creativity piece. Like, I have been pulling out old craft projects that I didn't do. I've been listening to music while I'm, doodling, doing what I do. And it's been so fun. Like, I've missed just being able to just do something creative. And again, not that what we do isn't creative, because I'm just going to say that.
Right.
But again, there's more than just what we do in everybody's life. Maybe you get to take a longer bubble bath than you've ever been able to do before with a glass of wine, and you're able to set up the candles and make a moment for yourself. It's amazing. It's just amazing the things that happen, but also the things that we're releasing, like, I'm going to incorporate this, because now it's the time to say, okay, I've really enjoyed this, and this. How can, when we come back to real life and we go out into public and go back to real work or real jobs, can I still incorporate this me time, or this family time, or this crafting time? How can I put this in? Like, it's ever more important that we carry this forward.
Right.
And what we've learned continues to shift and move and release as we walk forward. It's everybody's choice. Everybody's choice.
Right.
To carry that forward. And it's going to be really interesting to complete the cycles that we've been going through. And it's still, even though we may be back into our own lives, because now we can see things are starting to go back to the new norm, is what I want to say for right now. Right. Some of the restaurants are now looking at a way to try to open and handle some customers, and, spas and hairdressers and tattoo parlors. And, they're figuring out how they can at least connect with some people. And that's the fascinating thing, is that now that we have these bits of reprievement, is what's in my head. How are we going to handle that? And if you're fearful of going out, like, gosh, I'd really love to go get a haircut. However,
right.
Do I feel safe enough to go get a haircut? Right. Again, it's still the things that you're going to need to ask yourself. And it's okay if you're not ready. You've lasted this long, is what I want to say.
Kind of bouncing off of what you just got done saying, Kathy, I was going to start showing some of our messages via the cards, and I was going to start with a different deck, the deck that I first pulled some messages from. I was going to start with that, but what you're talking about, it leads me to kind of show the cards from a different deck that I also use, because you're talking about, the fear, the anxiety, and going back out there. And I have to say, when I first started pulling card messages for this video podcast from this particular deck, I'm like, oh boy, I don't know if I want to talk about that or show that, because the first card was the 5 of Physical, which talks about financial and material changes. For those of you that know anything about traditional tarot, this is like the 5 of Discs, the 5 of Earth, the 5 of Pentacles, which, can bring up some confusion regarding money and finances and juggling things. And what am I doing? What's going to happen? And what am I going to be doing here? And the card that I pulled after that was the 3 of air, the 3 of swords, the 3 of mental in this deck. And this is about heartache and loss. And we're going through a grief period, really, a grief period about the way that life used to be lived. And then, we don't have to carry that forward forever. This is about change. This is about the changing, restructuring of humanity. And, what we're going through is something that's allowing us to look at things again from a different perspective, to shift certain energies, things that we've been doing in a way that realigns us more with our spiritual truth. But we are grieving the old, if you want to call it quote unquote normal, as Kathy was saying, what's the new normal going to be? So there is this sense of loss, this sense of heartache. But I have to say, I asked after obviously getting these 2 cards, I said, well, what's next? How can we move beyond this? And what I got here was just like Kathy was talking about, is using your intuition. This is the Priestess card in the traditional tarot. And, we're going to be tapping into our own psychic insights and our own intuitive natures. And to me, the Priestess is a very powerful divine feminine card too. So we're tapping into the power of the divine feminine, that energy of receptivity, receiving messages through our own kind of higher soul self, intuition, gut reaction, what feels right. We're moving into our feminine spiritual power. And so then in my head at the time, pulling these cards, I said, okay, well, what happens when we start tapping into our spiritual, intuitive, powerful selves a little bit more? And then we get, prosperity begins, a new beginning. This is like the ace of earth, ace of discs, ace of pentacles. So we're going to see a new beginning, a new way. People, I love this picture with the 2 hands over the roots of the tree. It's like people are going to come together to find a new way of living, a new normal, so that we all prosper, so that we're all abundant, so that we're all blessed. And what does that mean? I don't know. Maybe that means on a monetary level that things are going to shift into more of a sense of equality. I mean, I don't know. This is just a possibility and a guess. But, we definitely are heading in the right direction. So if we all kind of come together to kind of nurture, to bring healing, to bring support to one another, to uplift one another, we're going to see this new growth, this new way of operating on the earth. This is the physical card, which means, again, earth, pentacles. So we are dealing with material concerns here, and we're dealing with the earth, a new way, a new beginning of being.
Absolutely. Well, and bringing joy back to your life. It'll be a new joy, a lighter joy. If you want to continue to carry the baggage with you, that's up to you. We're always going to have things to work on. We'll always have things to work on, for sure. That's why we're here. So again, what I was getting, what will happen is I got this, was joy and the light of joy and carrying yourself to the light. The other thing I got from the Ancestors deck was the eagle, which, I happen to have a totem animal who's been with me for a long time, who's an eagle. So I was like, oh, so I was kind of touched by that just to begin with, because eagles are the highest form of spirit, the closest animal that can get to spirit. Native Americans used to give the messages to the eagle because the eagle can fly the highest out of all birds. So they would bring the messages to spirit. And what the card means for us personally is embracing the spirit within. You are the highest vibration of light. All of us are. We're all connected to spirit. Just in this human realm, we have choices, and things get a little hard, because we're here to do our work. That's why we're here. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. And so now is the time when we can take this moment to release all of that stuff that we've continued to bog ourselves down with. And so really the completion card, which I was showing when Colleen was talking, was the snake, eating its tail, making
that card. Yeah.
the circles that we keep ourselves, but it actually came up reversed, which is about embracing the completion, allowing yourselves, you've seen it, you're seeing it now let it go. So when we do get out there and we're able to connect with each other, we can be one voice united, even though there's all of us speaking together and coming together. That's what I love about Colleen talking about the hand touching the other hand over that peach tree and over that earth, and connecting with Mother Earth, which was one of the first cards I got, was Pachamama, which is about Mother Earth and her embracing us and saying, no matter what you're going through, I'm still here. I'm still embracing you. I'm still showing you visual beauty. I still have places for animals to live, for you to live. Let me help you.
Yes.
Let me embrace you. Let me help you to breathe better, walk better, think clearer. All of these things, because I will tell you, I've been thinking a lot clearer since I've had downtime to just meditate. Like Colleen was saying, meditate more, just be quiet more, listen more, and just Be still.
I still haven't gotten to the first two cards that I pulled, because now as Kathy's talking again, and now I'm led to show you cards from the Crystal Angels deck that I pulled. And the first card was about control issues. And, Kathy, in a different type of way, is talking about, that we need to kind of surrender a little bit. We need to kind of give up this kind of idea of wanting to control our lives in a certain way, or things need to be in a certain way, because things aren't in that way anymore. We're needing to surrender that control about how things are unfolding, and trust and have faith that everything is, leading us to a brighter future, to a better world, to a more secure kind of interactive or interdependent kind of humanity, if you will. So if we, release that need for things to be the way they were, because they're not likely to be ever the exact same again. In fact, nothing ever stays the same, right? Things are always changing. Things, situations, energies are always flowing and changing. Relationships change. Our job situation changes. Our inner selves, we go through changes, and we need to surrender to that and allow things to become the new, giving that, again, that birth to prosperity, this new way of being. The card that was chosen after that from the Crystal Angels was to let yourself feel all your emotions. And it's really important, again, it's not like we're trying to tell you, oh, look at things from a different perspective. Be happy, be joyful, look at the blessings. Of course, we're going through emotional ups and downs. And as Kathy said earlier, she and I ourselves, we get together on Zoom or Skype, and we talk about some of the difficulties that we're going through, all the same types of difficulties that you're going through. So allow yourself to feel those emotions. It's a part of the process. It's a part of surrendering, and it's a part of that transformation with the snake that Kathy showed you. It's part of our evolution and growth. We need to be able to kind of feel, express, allow ourselves to go through and feel whatever emotions that we're feeling. Spiritual protection came up next. Mm-hmm. The last two cards, actually, a lot of purple energy, a lot of high vibrational crown chakra energy here. Okay, so we're spiritually protected, we're spiritually guided, and look, this is a heart with wings. So, we're uplifting, or we're embracing, or we're opening and expanding our heart chakras to higher spiritual love, unconditional love. And this is also that we can reveal the truth of who we are, reveal our true selves, okay? Peel away the layers, the old things, the situations, circumstances, karmic, patterns that you might be like living on a hamster wheel through. It's like, it's time to really embrace your true self here. Come into your highest spiritual self, connect with your higher self.
Well, and it's interesting. I put the cards back into a certain deck and shuffled a little bit, and this card just flew out, and it's Soul Family.
Oh, beautiful.
And so look at that beautiful card. Look at the face in the card. I love that. But I mean, think about it. We are not going through this alone. We are all going through it in our own way, for sure. But when we're done, look at how many people we can talk to that understand what you've gone through. Look at how many people understand everything that's happening, because we're all in the same place. Whether we're working in public, thank you to all of you that are doing that and keeping us safe, for sure. Mm-hmm. Again, for all of you that are about to go back and work out in public, we can understand that nervousness of doing that, or maybe you have excitement. It's like, yay, I'm back out in public. And either way, it's okay, because you've got people who will understand that on either side of that spectrum. And that's the biggest thing, is when we get back to that enlightened place, we will have this amazing soul family. Not just our own family, but everybody that's out there. It's going to be amazing. And this was the other one that fell out with it, was light beings, which with Colleen and all the planets kind of brings us back to Colleen's astrological forecast.
Back to the astrological forecast. And I want to now get to the deck. The first two cards that I pulled from the Energy Oracle cards by Sandra Ann Taylor. I love this deck. And at first, I thought, well, those are wonderful, great cards and great messages, which I'm about to show you. But then as we've been talking, Kathy and I, here doing this video podcast for you all, I was like, it's very interesting that this first card is called Healer of the Ages. And it looks like Master Jesus. And I thought to myself again, I didn't put this together at first, but halfway through our video podcast, I was like, the energy for the month of May, because every month, has a different kind of universal month vibration for us as a collective. And the universal energy for the month of May is the number 9. And the number 9 is about healing and completion, because the number 9 is the last of the single digits. So we're talking about surrendering and healing and letting things go and allowing things to unfold in its natural timing. And it's definitely a number of completion because it's the last of the single digits. So a time of completion, a time of healing, a time of transmuting. And this wonderful figure that to me looks like Master Jesus, open heart chakra. Here we have heart chakra energy again, the healing of the heart chakra. And this month, this 9 universal month, if we think about what is the 9th major arcana in the tarot, it's the Hermit card. And the Hermit card is about finding your own inner light. Mm-hmm. It's like walking your own path and finding your own inner light, like this master here, this healer that has his heart chakra all lit up. He's finding his own inner light. He's allowing healing to take place. Now, this is healing personally, but also healing of the collective as we're in this 9 universal month. And the second card that came out, and I love this card too, Archangel Chamuel. And it says the 3rd chakra. And his 3rd chakra is lit up here. And at first, I thought, well, that's a great message. This is about empowerment because our solar plexus chakra is our center of willpower, confidence, courage. And this is where we own our sense of power or empower ourselves. And then I thought to myself again, as we were talking here, Kathy and I, doing this video podcast for you, that, our podcasts come out on the 11th of every month. So we're going from, May 11th until June 11th for this particular video podcast. And I was like, this one is like, the rest of May and this healing, this Hermit card energy, this allowing ourselves to come into completion regarding something. I don't know if this is completion within ourselves and old patterns and healing our mind and our belief systems and, kind of ending the old way of living and operating. And then to me, this is maybe the first part of June, those first 11 days of June, that perhaps we're now in a place where, June is going to be a new beginning energy. It's going to be like the turning point, so to speak. It's going to vibrate numerologically to the Wheel of Fortune when we get to the month of June. And that to me, Wheel of Fortune card, number 10, that energy, solar plexus, confidence, courage, own our power, take our power back, to me was a great way to kind of end this particular, video. Not that we're kind of signing off right now in this moment, but I just feel like, this is a great message here that we're going through healing with the healer of the ages, and we're coming into our own sense of power again as we move towards Archangel Chamuel, who, by the way, is also the archangel that helps us with our life purpose, as well as soulmate relationships, but he's definitely there to help us with our life purpose. So
the interesting thing that I'm seeing, which is kind of just an interesting pointing out, is you held up card 31 and 37, and I held up card 35 and 36, number-wise, which was the Soul Family and the Light Being cards, 2 totally different decks.
Right.
But I thought that was rather, I don't know, I found that to be rather interesting for some reason.
Well, to be honest, this is actually 51.
Oh, okay, sorry. To me, it looked like 31, so that's kind of funny.
No
sorry,
mistakes.
my mistake.
No mistakes at all. There must be a reason.
That was just kind of interesting to me. I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
But again, it's, I totally agree with that. And what I noticed when I looked back at this Light Being card is looking at this beautiful face with almost like that beautiful, in Reiki would be chakra, a choku-rei, which is a Reiki symbol. But again, that energetic symbol, that mind concept, that third eye concept, that coming into your own intuition, coming into your own power, your connection to spirit, of course.
Right.
It's fascinating what we've been through. And if we truly can come out of this thinking like, wow, that was amazing. Like that was an amazing shift. And it was an amazing, the rest of this year is going to be sort of our sweet spot, if you want to look at it that way. And again, not that we won't have real life things that'll happen, but again, I keep thinking, what is it going to be like next year when we look back, when we get to this time period and everybody's like, remember when, it's just going to, anyway, I don't know. But it's kind of interesting because the very first card that I got that I have not shown, which is the last card on my table, is from Omega. And it's about us, just coming and telling us, like, keep up the good work because you're doing a good job. Because that's literally what it says on the card is victory. Your dreams are coming true. Keep up the good work. So again, we know in some way, the one thing we can all say, everyone, everywhere, is somehow, in some way, we will walk away enlightened. Mm-hmm. We have all definitely been enlightened in some way, shape, or form.
And there's changes to come as a result of this, but those changes are steering us in a better direction. For Earth Mother Gaia herself, being able to kind of cleanse herself, which includes nature, the plants, the animals, the animal kingdom, and also for ourselves, again, shifting our perspective, what's really important in our lives. Mm-hmm. What really gives me a sense of passion or a sense of meaning, aligning me and joy, aligning me with my own truth so that I'm not on autopilot, just kind of going through the day-to-day motions and getting kind of in that Groundhog Day rut, so to speak, so it's really allowing us a great time of growth and evolution on the planet.
Well, I'm seeing joy in everything you do.
Yeah.
Every choice that you make, every thought that you have, seeing joy, for yourself. Mm-hmm. And again, we are in no way, shape, or form belittling the fact that we are losing really good people because of the virus, of course. Right. So please don't think that we are not remembering them, because we truly are.
Absolutely.
However, how are we going to continue to walk forward? How are we going to honor them? So if you've lost someone dear to you, how can you walk forward keeping their memory and honor them? Because I know if my mom or my dad, who are both in spirit, if either one of them were to have left at this point in time, and I constantly think that anyway, even though they didn't leave during this piece of time, is how can I honor them? I still think of them. I'm still sad, and that's okay, because emotions are emotions.
Right.
So don't belittle that. Feel that. Walk through that. Mm-hmm. Learn from that. Right. But in the end of the day, how can I make you proud? Those are my mom and dad. So you always want to make them proud. So again, shift and change. Become the light that you are. Again, you are the one you've been waiting for, not anybody outside of yourself. So that is it for today.
Thank you.
So ends our podcast day.
Yes. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Find that light and that truth within yourself. We send you all lots of love and light.
Absolutely.
And many angel blessings to you all.
Take care until we see you next month. Be well.